All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Wednesday Word. And today, our special Nothing Talk. If you join us for the first time, Nothing Talk is just where we just talk about whatever we want to talk about. But before God, there was nothing. So, hey, this is before the Word. We're going to give you our Nothing Talk. So, I have to say, I did not pick this subject, but I can get on board with it. We're talking about professional looks. And I think it's changed over the years because I must say I think it was a little more strict earlier. But now I think like a lot of stuff goes. It matters what field you're in. You know?
I agree. Do you think it's a certain look for certain professions, certain fields?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I went to, and this is the company doesn't even exist anymore, but Riser Foods, and there you load up grocery trucks. So you're stacking up food, pallets, all that. But anyway, it's a labor job. So I went there in a suit, and ladies like, you didn't have to wear a suit. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I think you go for a job interview, you wear a suit.
Yeah,
you know?
I think you should dress your best.
But she told me I did. She said, oh, you didn't have to wear a suit.
Right.
Because they like, look.
But I bet it made a better impression.
Can you lift the box? That's what I want to know.
Did you get the job?
Yes, I got the job.
Of course. But, I think that makes a difference. They say,
I think she was like, I don't know, this dude going to cut it. I need to make sure he can
your first impression.
lift that 50
Well,
pounds.
and the reason it came up is because, I'm considering getting my hair braided and knotless braids. And so
do they have knot braids? Since you're saying this is knotless, do they have knot braids?
There's knot braids are when they build a knot at the root and then they braid the hair, and it's heavier and it pulls on your hair and it's bad on your edges and all these kind of stuff. Some people will extremely.
I'm about to say, unless somebody's out there got knot braids right now, and
right.
loving
well,
it.
no, I mean, some people do, but now that people have been doing knotless braids, they are like, I've watched videos even that talks about the benefits, and I love them, and I have a cousin who does them. Anyway, the point being, I wanted to get them for work. So, I did like a little survey. I asked you, I asked my father, I asked a few coworkers who don't have the kind of hair that could accept braids to see what their opinions would be.
All hair can't accept braids. I'm not being funny.
They're traditionally in their culture, they wouldn't accept braids. And these are two very different friends. One is definitely a Democrat and one is a Republican, I just must say. I'm not going to say their names.
So
the Democrat said that she thought the braids would be beautiful. And if she could get braids, she would, but she doesn't want to, appropriate culture, etc. The Republican said, absolutely not. I should not get my hair braided. She considers it unprofessional. And that if I want to do something like that, I needed to wait until the summer. And I appreciated both of their feedback. And what I realized, my dad said he thought it was fine. I think you said it was fine as well. I think what I've realized is since we, African Americans in particular, have embraced our culture ourselves more, I think that more natural hairstyles have become more mainstream. But I wonder, is it acceptable to everyone else? You know what I mean?
So let me ask you, can our vice president wear cornrows in office?
It's appropriating. He can't.
Our vice
president.
Can our vice president wear cornrows in office?
She could.
Can you imagine Congress and that?
She could get. Let me see what.
But her hair, I don't know. Is her hair? I don't know. Because she's Indian too, right?
Yes, she's Indian and African American, or not Jamaican American.
She's Jamaican?
Her father was Jamaican.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Kamala Harris's father was Jamaican and mother was Indian. If I'm not mistaken, somebody knows out there. They can tell me. Right. I'm pretty sure. I could be incorrect.
No, I'm fine. I mean, we'll roll with it for today. That's what she is today.
And what is Jeff saying? Okay, so someone says mainstream but not acceptable as appropriate.
Jeff said, I'm just trying to grow more hair.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you get a little older, right? You're just happy to have hair.
So I don't know, but I plan to get them, I believe. I'm not sure. And I feel awful that I have to consider a decent hairstyle with a concern. It makes me sad that I have to question whether everyone will be accepting. So I've proven myself as far as my ability, my commitment, my skill set, but the fact that I have to pause and consider my hair style, which again would be professional, not multicolored, like I'm not trying to get
But
purple hair or anything like
I've
that.
seen professional people with different hairstyles, and like you said too, I think it's more so too, if you kind of establish yourself, you could probably get away with it. But if you're coming in new on that job interview, it may not be the style you want to start with. So
Evangelist Neal, I agree. She says hair texture doesn't determine professionalism or competence.
All right, but let's take a quick poll.
No, it's nothing new, Evangelist Dixon. The problem is we're still having the conversation. Is the problem?
But let's pose this out there. Give your honest opinion if you're able to. If our vice president, and he knows I keep calling her vice president because I don't want to butcher her name because I mess it
Kamala.
up. But yeah. Kamala, I'm just playing. So if our vice president were to wear cornrows in office, would that be a issue for you? How would you feel? Would you feel it's unprofessional because she's at the highest? I mean, I just want to survey.
And if Lisa Cummings were to wear knotless braids, single knotless braids, would that be a problem, do you think, in my job? Yeah. Thank you, Deacon Lane.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if anybody want to talk about what they think her hair should look like.
Cornrows, you took it to a whole nother level.
But that's what we're doing. I want to see. Is that okay? You know what I'm saying? Can you
just get single? Why can't she just get? Why can't she just get knotless braids? They look like hair.
I want Queen Latifah set it off cornrows up in there. I just want to know. How do we feel?
Let me tell you something.
I
might feel empowered. I'll be honest. I might feel empowered. I may feel empowered if she got cornrows. Well, she dreaded her hair or something.
Well, you know what? I almost say dreads.
Take it to a little
more acceptable than cornrows. I don't know, but I'm gonna say so. Let's go with Obama for a second. I remember when they were talking about him smoking, and the way society has changed, smoking is not as acceptable as it was when you had the Rat Pack and they were smoking like crazy in movies and all that kind of stuff. We started trying to get more health conscious, and they was like, "Well, Obama, how do you feel about him smoking and stuff like that?" I was like, if he made good presidential decisions and he needs a cigarette, I am not going to beat him down about that. Now, it's not my personal, but I just need you to make good decisions in where you're at. So that's how I feel too. Like if she came out with cornrows, if she came out blue, red, pink, whatever, if you're doing a good job, I'm good with it. Now it probably doesn't look as, we'll say, presidential or vice presidential, and you gotta kind of look at that because you're meeting different leaders and so forth like that.
So
but you got the right.
Right. My Republican friend, one of her biggest points was just don't change your hair color to like crazy colors. That was her biggest thing. She felt that was like one of the most unprofessional when people
because it could be a distraction.
Purple and red. She thought that was the worst.
Yeah.
But she wasn't for the braids either.
But
I appreciate that she was honest.
It could be a distraction. The colors, to me, the colors can be a distraction because people generally don't have green hair. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
very true. Very true. Very true. Very true.
All right. Are we ready?
I just want to know, did anybody vote on whether or not if she had
no, nobody wanted to touch that. Nobody wanted to put themselves out there on Facebook and YouTube.
So
for that
said
one.
He agrees as long as you do your job, it's fine also. But that's us, again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So we'll see. All right. So, and looking at our Bible study, we're talking about the dispensations, and we had the dispensation of innocence where we have Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and they were put out for disobedience. We had the dispensation of conscience, and this means that there's knowledge, there's information out there, and basically we are supposed to live our lives choosing to do good, that our conscience would be there. Let me do good. Let me love God. Let me live right, And when we look at dispensations, this is the arrangement of a period of time in history that begins a framework through which God begins to relate to mankind in covenant, and he works out basically the rules. God lays out the ground rules, and he lays out the consequences if you break them. So it's God's timing, it's God's rules. He has a right to govern, he has a right to lead. And that's the problem a lot of people have, is that, we want to run our own show. Right. We want to live our life how we want to live our life. And we more so want God to fit into our life instead of us fitting into, what he's doing. Yeah. And I think it's kind of natural. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like you have ideas, you have things you want to do, but here's the thing: when you go into agreement, just like with a marriage, just like with a partnership, just like with a team or something like that, you have to begin to look at the whole team and not just yourself, or the whole partnership. You can't have a partner and be like, well, I don't care what you say, I'm doing X, Y, Z. Right. And so then it's not a partnership.
Yeah, you're right. And to your point, like, God is a God of order. And in this world, people don't like that. I mean, we live in a society that says express yourself, do what you want to do. Right. Yeah. I mean, they make songs that say those lyrics. And so
I actually was I was like, isn't that a song?
Yeah. No, seriously. And so it is a song. But that's what I'm saying. But that mindset has been perpetuated through society. And I think it's even becoming more robust now because of social media. So you are even more empowered to do what you want to do now because social media is telling you to do so.
Oh, and that's the big one. Social media. Here's the thing. First of all, we gave an open platform to a bunch of idiots. And I got to say it like that.
Before, no regulations.
Right. Before there was screening, there was regulation. You had to have money, connection, or something to get on air and TV. Right. Now anybody can jump on. Right. And the other problem is that people almost take everything that's said as true.
I heard it. Right. I heard it. I've been guilty of this. I will send a video of something I've seen. Like, look at this. Can you believe it? Because once it's published, it almost becomes like it's word. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna tell you, that's the news in me. When I see something, I'm kind of like, what? I was like, let me fact check and see if I can find 2 other sources. Right. But that's me. But I hear you. We gotta watch. Yes. We gotta watch. But social media,
it's destroying the world.
Technology is great but bad.
Absolutely.
Just like the information, knowledge, and I touch on this a little later. But knowledge is good and bad. Just like when we look at the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. To find out the knowledge of evil is bad. Mm-hmm. To find out what's out there, what's wrong, and to experience it. Mm-hmm. So. Just briefly going back to catch people up. So when we look at those dispensations, the first dispensation was the dispensation of innocence. And in that, we looked at God with Adam and Eve in that garden. It was perfect. It was paradise, and they blew it. So he had gave them the commands: fill the earth with children, subdue the earth, have dominion over the animals, care for the garden, abstain from eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So, I mean, he set them up. It was almost like he said, I'm going to put you up in this penthouse, just clean it and take care of it, and I'll be back. And
they was like, eat what you want.
And they was like, no, we don't feel like doing this. But he empowered them. Right. But we're going to see a theme here too. He wants them to fill the earth with their children. There are times when God, he's trying to replenish this earth. And then he's sending them out too. But people don't want to leave. They don't want to go out. They don't want to listen to God. And they decide like, hey, it's great over here. I'm just going to do my thing. Right. So
I have to interrupt for a second.
Ahead,
I apologize. This is not Bible study related though. Mm-hmm. It just said your OneDrive is
full.
Okay. I was making sure we didn't lose. We didn't lose anything or anything like that. Okay.
I don't like the OneDrive. I need to disable
it. Good. I just had to make sure.
All right. So when we look at this, then there's the consequence. And so this is the part we don't like. It's almost like even, too, with your children, with a job, if the job says, here are the rules, you got to be on time. If you're late 3 times, you get fired. And then you're late 3 times. Like, oh, why y'all tripping? Why you going? Those are the rules. It's outlined, it's laid out, and they have the right to make the rules.
And that's why, again, in society, people don't want to follow them. They don't want to follow them. This week I had to do some evaluations and of assistants.
Names, please.
I'm not. and they have a 10-day maximum in which they're able to be absent without being on like any kind of probationary status. Well, I had one girl with 16 days debating me about the rules, you know.
Right,
but
right.
again, the rules only apply to us if we like them, if they are acceptable to us because they fit within what we deem as is appropriate
Right.
to have. I apologize.
No, but like when the highway says 65, you may like it, you may not like it.
I guess I don't like it sometimes.
Sometimes we say, forget the rule. I'm just going to
Right.
do my thing, you know. So speaking, Serena on, I gotta see. Yeah, her and I had a traffic situation, but that's a whole nother Oprah. So
Oprah.
that's a whole nother Oprah. But God bless her. God bless you all.
Right.
So let's go here. So then the dispensation of conscience. This was when mankind became worse. So they got put out the garden for disobedience. Now they're in conscience to make good decisions, and they become worse. They're guided by their conscience. They're supposed to do good. They're supposed to approach God with a blood sacrifice. Like all these things are laid out. Abel gives God an acceptable sacrifice. God is well pleased with it. Cain doesn't. He warns Cain, hey, sin crouching at your door, make the right decision. He's like, look, I see you about to blow it.
And Cain like, I don't care.
Right. Have you ever been? It's like that. I'm going to tell you a quick story. I was going, and I want to preface it with this. It was a decent area. And this is years ago. This wasn't recent. This is years ago. I was going to a football game, a high school football game, and I see a guy running toward the game, and I see him grab his gun and shove it down his pants like to hide it. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, I don't care who's playing right now. This just don't look like a good idea. So I turned around, left the game. Now, nothing happened that day. But it's one of those things when you're just like, this is not a good idea. And that's what God is trying to reach out to us when he sees us doing things that are not a good idea. And he's warning us. And as parents, you see it sometimes with your children. You're trying to help them make wise decisions, good decisions. And you say, you want to give them some of that freedom to begin to make decisions and to choose it on their own, but you also kind of want to help them when you see it's bad. And that's how God is with us. He sees us, he's looking, he's like, oh, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Like Eve, don't do it, don't do it. Adam, don't do it, don't do it. And then boom, So
such was some of us, right?
Yeah, you're right. I'm sure he called out your name and said, don't do it, don't do it. So when this happened, Cain kills Abel. We have the first murder. It's tragic. And now there's more judgment. Cain doesn't want to take the judgment. He runs off, so forth. God gave Adam and Eve more children. So sometimes people think it was just Cain and Abel. No, they had Seth. They had more children. They had daughters, all this kind of stuff. So he renews the righteousness in the seed of Seth. And men and women begin to call on the name of the Lord again. So there's this pull back to God, but there's still the corruption of Cain. So it's always seems to be that battle of good and evil that's still out there. Cain is still out there in another civilization. He's starting, havoc and so forth. And I believe I stressed this before, but I stress it again. The sons of God that slept with the daughters of man are not angels. We're talking about those that were God's people sleeping with those that are outside the will of God, which basically going to be those Cain descendants and so forth that decide to leave and flee. But I dislike when people try to say the angels have no need to have any physical
interactions.
Generally, they're messengers. They're messengers, and sometimes they're used for battle and so forth.
Entanglement.
Yes, entanglements. See, that's why we got those degrees. So, what happens is they ignore God. Now they start to forget about God, and all the wickedness that goes on, all that's happening. See, look at this. God sees his creation, and he sees it basically failing and leaving him. Yeah. All of his career. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And he looks for one, and he finds Noah. he finds one faithful man in the time, Noah. Isn't that something though? Think about the population. As the population is there, no one's worshiping God, thinking about God, loving God, talking to God. No one's doing any of those things, but they are lovers of themselves and they are building new gods and they are living a life that has no honor to their creator.
And you have to wonder what caused it. I know sin. Don't get me wrong.
I'm with you.
But what caused that? Because unfortunately, it's perpetual. It hasn't changed, and I guess it's the lust of the eye, lust of the flesh. Pride of life in general. It hasn't started in one generation and stopped in another. But I guess I was. You could almost be foolish to believe that because society was different. I know the word says there's nothing new under the sun. That the commitment would be greater to Christ, the commitment to God in general.
Say that again. I mean,
you would almost think that without the distractions of the world, your commitment could be greater. You know what I mean? Right. God gave them everything. And I understand sin had came into the world at this time. But to only find one, only one?
Well, remember Abraham and Lot. Abraham goes to God and he's like, hey, and then his number starts going down and down. Lord Jesus, can you save it by just find one? God like, go ahead, because there ain't one in there. You know what I'm saying? You go down and you got big aspirations. Like, I'm going to find some people who love the Lord. I'm going to find them. They go in there and they're like, well, can we change that number? Because I ain't finding them.
It's almost like you can look at it. It's like God with education and IEP. We need him to get in and do some interventions. Maybe he needs to rearrange it for people so they understand it a little bit better. All right.
So no. But here's the thing. So then now we come to the account of Noah and the ark. So now in putting this in context, we have to understand it had never ever rained.
Before. He was crazy, according to them.
It never rained. But this man is building an ark, a big, huge ship, in order to survive the rain. It's amazing because it seemed impossible. It seemed impossible.
And I can see why people would think he was crazy.
And to us, the rapture may seem impossible. But I'm just saying, there's people out there who, as look at Noah, he's letting Noah know it's going to rain. You need to build this ark. I got all the dimensions and everything you need to do. It never happened before. The rapture for us has never happened. And it may seem like, well, what is this thing? What's going to happen? But we're just like Noah, where we got to be ready. How much time each day, if I'm Noah, because don't forget this, everybody. Noah still has to take care of his family. He still got to work. He still got to live life. He still got to do these things. So how much time each day should I build this ark? So think about you. You got a job. You got kids. You got all this stuff going on. And God says, build an ark. How much time each day should I build this ark?
Right.
You got to look and see, because I got to have it ready at a certain point. So, and look at this with our lives. How much time should we work on our walk with God? We got busy stuff going on. You got things you got to cook. You got things you have to wash. You have places you have to go. You got appointments you got to meet. You got bills you have to pay. You got outings that you may go to and all this other stuff. But ask yourself, how much time do I need to work on me in order to be ready for when the Lord comes back?
And it's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. Like, we want you to at least commit, we'll say 1/10, like you tithing, right? Okay. But some of us may need more time, Right. Maybe we need to lay prostrate for 5 hours, 6 hours, right?
Say it.
That's how you are. You know what I mean? But to be prepared and ready, because this is what you're committed to doing, And so when you are in this, I'm going to use this term, but I don't mean it in this way. When you're in this business, when you're in the soul saving business. There's more time that needs to be committed to that. But here's not the crazy, but God tells us all to go into the highways and hedges and to compel men, to compel our men. And so it's like in some aspects, we all need to be taking that time.
So I was talking to Dave at the barbershop, and he posed to me a question. He said that if the prosecution,
no names,
well, I didn't, yeah, okay. He said if the prosecution had to plead a case that you were ready for Jesus, that your life was there, you were ready, would they be able to plead it today? Would they be able to say, well, this is what I could pull out, this is what I could look at, this is how they've been living, this is their testimony, that they are ready, that the prosecution.
That's a good question, Dave. No names.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
So yeah, we have to look at this. So then now, so as you said, like this is the my area and so forth, whatever. So now let me ask you this, and you guys out there, somebody put it in. What does a successful preacher look like or do? Something out there, like what do you, how can you measure the success of a preacher?
And give it some wait time, because it takes a minute.
I got you, but how do you measure this as a success? So is it maybe the size of the congregation? Is it how good the message is? Is it their relationship with the people? Like what are some things that looks like a successful? This is a successful preacher. He's doing what's right. He's leading the people. He's got to be sent from God. What does that look like?
Put your picture up there for my.
Well, not look like that. I would say give me some details.
Physical details. But I do. I feel like Oh, okay. I didn't think you want to do that on the Facebook.
Well, we're
come on now.
Well, it's not that type of show, but we got.
You threw me off. I was like, what is he falling over?
He passed out. Somebody get him.
No,
okay.
But no, seriously. I mean, like, I'll even say, just even in this transition of the pandemic, how you transitioned, how you prepare, how you still reach out to the saints, how you still have your ministers meetings, how we still have VBS, and how we still have Sunday school, and how we still have Wednesday word and everything, how you still contact and call people, and still maintain things here. I feel that that's not, and you pray and you no, sir.
Let's go ahead.
You pray and you try to do God's will. And like, I know that if I ever need guidance, even in my own, like, let's say job situation, or just, I can get a little bit, like, I'm like, I need a break. I need those little breaks. I'm on one now. I'm on a sabbatical now. If I've ignored your text messages, I do apologize. But I'm on a sabbatical. But I think that you do a really good job of restoration, mindful restoration for people. I mean, even today, I called you with a situation that occurred at work where I may be sued, people.
Come on,
I'm just kidding. Sort of.
Don't go there.
I'm not going to go there. But the point being, the logic you brought to that situation was beneficial. So, like, even in the husband role, you're still pastoring,
Okay. Amen. Fruit of the labor. We got Evangelist Hill.
You don't care about what I said.
No, I do.
I'm over here pouring my heart out. You like, what did this comment say? What did this comment? Oh, look at this comment.
My apologies. Look.
And then Sister Shirley Crockett be like, "That's right, Pastor." I see you.
Oh my goodness. All right. So these were all great comments that came
That's a good
through.
Point. Minister Pope. Is it Elder Pope? Is he Elder Pope or Minister Pope?
You know what?
Bishop.
I have to say, because we have a relationship, I just call him Willie. Yeah, but I don't know if they say deacon. He might be deacon. But we gonna call him Bishop Pope for today. All right.
Bishop Pope.
We thank him. So let's look at Noah now. Noah is there to build an ark, but what is he also doing? He's an unsuccessful preacher. He's preaching about the flood.
That's true.
He's preaching about the flood. Come into the ark, come get saved. It's going to rain, it's going to flood, all those kind of things. And he's unsuccessful. So now this is a story
That's
out
deep.
there to
Deep
sorry,
end.
don't throw me under the bus. This is a story out there to everybody about how we measure success.
Love you, Sister
So we
Crockett.
can look at a church that has 20,000 people in it, and we would say, wow,
Success.
I want to be like them,
Yeah.
or they're successful. Look how great that ministry is. Look at the work and everything
Seems
they
stressful
do.
to me.
But it doesn't.
Say no, thank you.
But no, when you have 20,000, you should have a strong administration,
Yeah,
because you should be paying
But you gotta manage
folks,
the
as opposed to when you got 10 and nobody getting paid. It's like,
That's true.
But like I said, it's all how you measure it up. But the thing is, we would see that as success, but we don't know how many people are getting saved out of it. So here's another thing. Noah was unsuccessful, but it's not his fault he was unsuccessful.
Mm-hmm.
He preached, he did his job, but the people had their hearts hardened.
That's right.
And only 7, his family. And I'm gonna go out and say they saved because of him, not because of them. God didn't look at them.
Right.
He was just like, I'm gonna let you take them with you. You know what I'm saying? So somebody thank God for the parents that take them along with them. Thank you. Take me with you. No.
Right.
But so when we look at this, it seems to be unsuccessful, but he did what God told him to do.
Right.
The Lord's solution to all of this was destroy the earth, destroy it with the flood. All the land, all the animals. The animals keep getting stuck in the middle of our decisions. The animals, the land, the tree, all of this. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. It was the grace of God that gave him. So now, if we begin to look at God and you say, well, man, how could God kill all those people? How could God let all those people die?
Them to die.
Well, okay, let's say how did he allow all those people to die? And we go back again. Don't forget, he's sovereign. He's the king. He sets the rules. And what he did was passed on judgment. If we look at the theological side of what's happening, God is not overly concerned about the natural life. It's the spiritual life. So their spirit lives on, but their spirit is going to face eternal damnation as opposed to eternal salvation. So we look at God and say, oh no, God, how could God do this? How could God do that? Because God made us. And it's just like when you hear that say, I brought you in this world, I can take you out.
Right. I always saw that situation as God cleaning house.
Yes, yes.
And it's like even in our relationships in this world, often you need to clean house.
Right,
there are people, and I don't mean the house. I mean the people in your life that may need to not be there.
Just toxic or something.
Right, because of toxicity. And so, they were not producing good fruit. They were not bearing good fruit. They were not bearing fruit. They weren't lovers of God. They were lovers of self. And so he cleaned house, wiped the slate clean and started all over again. And when you look at it, that's concerning. You know what I'm saying?
But what he did, let's do this. Let's check his resume. Let's check his history. Adam and Eve, he gives clear instructions about what to do.
Absolutely.
And what the consequences are. He warns Cain before Cain goes out and murder, because God already knows what's in Cain's heart. And he warns him, basically, Cain, don't do this because you're going to face the consequences. He called Enoch to walk by his side. He spent time with Noah. He reached out frequently to man so that man could see his righteousness,
Absolutely.
his presence, his love, all those things to draw them. But he says, my spirit will not always strive with man. Sin takes over, comes in, and the presence of God moves out. And now you have to face the judgment.
Well, and that's why I said I think it's concerning, and I don't want to belabor this point, but it's almost like pay attention. You know what I mean? He's showing you. He's very clear. He's direct on his messages and his word, but yet and still we continue in sin that grace would abound.
Right.
God is forbidding it.
Right.
Literally, he is forbidding that. And so to me, the concern is that we continue to perpetuate the same sin.
Some people would say, you don't believe fat meat is greasy.
True. True.
That's a Joyce saying that she likes to say. So I'll throw that in. So look at Noah's days. Noah's days are similar to our days. Evil men, seducers, the waxing worse. Crimes have increased like 300% since the 60s. Marrying and giving away in marriage, 1 out of 2 divorces going on. Knowledge has increased. 90% of the scientists that we have had in the world are in this time right now. So we got this knowledge and this information, which can be dangerous again, because now we're saying, oh, there's other celestial beings out there, and we're not made by God, but we were made by some accidental big bang that came around, and it made us so intricate. That's the part that's amazing to me, how intricate we are. You get a paper cut and how it heals, right? All of those things, how intricate. And even in some of the animals that we have, and how intricate they are and what they can do. How is this not designed?
Yeah, I know this is not the word, but it's almost
created.
Like this spontaneous combustion. Like
right,
I know exactly. That's not the word. No, I know that's something different, but like
right. Well, that's basically what they say about the Big Bang. Right. You know what I'm saying? So this just accidentally all happened, and it came out to be perfect gravity, and our rotation and our distance from the sun was perfect, all from an accident.
That's what they believe.
That's like spilling milk, and then now you have a fabulous painting that's worth millions of dollars or something.
You know why? Because irrational things are easier to be believed.
Okay. I got you. Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it's too logical that God could create this exact perfect being. Imperfect beings, but you know what I'm saying? Right.
Well, but he made us perfect.
With the intricacies, like you said, it's too logical. That makes it too easy. We need to complicate things. With and Einstein says this, but with our in the midst.
So you're not going to quote God, you're going to quote Einstein.
For a moment, I'm going to quote Einstein, and I'm going to misquote him. I'm going to misquote him. But it basically, he says, in the midst of your calculations and diagrams, don't forget about man. You know what I'm saying? And so here, I'm gonna say in the midst of all these calculations and diagrams, don't forget about God. So I appropriated Einstein's quote.
I got you. Go ahead.
Fit my needs.
Go ahead. The Lisa translation. So when we look at this, the flood seemed impossible at the time. I mean, because come on. I mean, if you never seen rain and then now somebody's talking about rain, you're like, what? What is wrong with this man? I'm sure a lot of people thought he was crazy. But I'm going to put this in there too. But don't forget, too, that God was present before, and they should have some idea about God and, what God is doing. So now the flood seemed impossible, and the rapture may seem unbelievable to some people, because how are there going to be 2 or 3 gathered in the field? One would be taken and the other would be left. How all of a sudden, and you ever had those moments in life where something happens and you're like, the rapture didn't happen, did it? You can't get a hold of somebody, something's happening.
I've never felt that way happening. But you've looked for us before.
But no, I said I know it ain't happened. No, I'm
playing with you.
So, but you have one of those moments you can't get a hold of somebody. You're like, wait, hold on, what happened? But when we look at this, it is possible, because God, and that's what God has done through the Old Testament, the New Testament, showing us how he has power over nature. He has power over time. He has power over death. He has power over sin. He shows us. I raised Lazarus from the dead. I healed people. I showed you all these things about me so that you would know and be able to believe the signs of what I'm saying.
That's right.
So after all of that, we come to the third dispensation, and that's human government. And we're just going to touch on this lightly and then wrap it up. So when we look at human government, man now is responsible for governing the earth for God. After the flood, and basically the flood, Noah was in the ark for about a year. Mm-hmm. And that's assuming that we're dealing with a 365-day year. I can't tell you for sure. This is our calendar. But Noah was basically, at the time, he was in there for about a year on a 365-day calendar. All right. So when we look at Noah, Noah comes and he enters the ark, and then he's in there. And then finally, when he sends out the raven, he sends out the dove, trying to see, is it safe to go out? And finally, when the dove brings the branches, then he knows, okay, we're getting close, vegetation, all that. And then finally, when Noah comes out of the ark, he's about 500 miles from his home, his original home. He comes out. It was on Mount Arafat that the ark landed. And he comes out, and the first thing that Noah does is he builds an altar to God. That is so beautiful.
God brought him through.
Yeah, I would think you on there. And let me throw this in real quick. When we look at all those paintings of Noah's Ark and the animals, the artist did not feel like drawing the seven clean animals. In the ark, it was not just 2, male and female, but there was also a 7 of the clean animals so they could eat and survive. So that's how they survived on the ark. So I'm gonna just say all the artists out there didn't feel like drawing it. They said, we're gonna draw 2 and call it a day. All right, so when he comes out of the ark, he builds his altar to God. He loves God. They offer sacrifice. God is pleased. He's loving Noah. It's kumbaya, all is well. And then the next thing that Noah goes into is cultivating the ground. He becomes that botanist, and he begins to build the vineyard, and he gets drunk.
Messed it all up. Butt naked. Wow.
So listen to this. God makes a covenant with Noah and his family. God's not going to curse the ground anymore. He's not going to destroy all the living anymore. Noah and his family are to be fruitful and multiply. So God's laying it all out again. Be fruitful, be multiply, replenish the earth. Man can eat of all the flesh of the living thing, but they got to drain the blood. And he's never going to destroy the earth by water again. And he gives the rainbow for the covenant. So when you see that rainbow in the sky, it's a reminder I'm not flooding the earth. I have a covenant with the people, not all living things, all this kind of stuff. But yeah. Fire's coming later.
And we're not taking this lightly. But
but that's the reality. That is the reality. So
he won't flood it.
No,
but he will burn it down.
He's gonna burn it. But he said, I'm not gonna flood it anymore. So what happens is, as Noah gets drunk, and as you said, he's exposed, and his first son, well, not the oldest, but Ham comes in. Ham sees him. He mocks him. He's disrespectful, all that kind of stuff. The other 2 sons decide to go in backwards with a cover him up, and have respect for their father. So now this has big implications here, big problems. So Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Noah planted this vineyard. He got drunk. He laid exposed. Ham mocked him, and Shem and Japheth covered him. Now, when we look at this is the time. So God made a covenant with Abraham. God makes this covenant with Noah, and he gives Noah, because this is the covenant happening with him, the privilege of being able to bless and curse his kids. And you see this going on with the Israelites, those fathers. They give them the birthright. They also give them the blessing. So this is a spiritual side to this, that God has a promise, a covenant. He has a promise. I'll bless those who bless you. I'll curse those who curse you, all that kind of stuff. So now when we look at this, what Noah does is he curses Ham. Now, let me say this to you, because I heard somebody out there say this before. I'm going to put a curse on somebody. I mean, this is a religious person, not somebody doing voodoo or some of this other stuff. And it's like, the Bible says, no, you don't have that covenant with God to be cursing people. And that's not the heart that God wants you to have anyway. But this is the family line being passed down. And he gives the birthright. He gives the blessings and so forth. So now when we look at this, that now we start to get how our world is populated. We started with Adam and Eve. We all came from Adam and Eve, but now the flood happened. So then now that takes our genealogy. Look, if you get blocked in your genealogy somewhere, skip all of that and then go right back here to Noah and trace it to Adam and Eve. And you'll be at the beginning.
So when people are doing those trees online, you're saying that's
you just had to put some dark years and then go to
I'll make
Okay.
sure you tell your mother that. She's doing yours.
All right, so listen, because I'm gonna wrap up. I'm almost done, guys. I'm almost done. I'm gonna wrap up. So when we look at this, this is the population of the earth, and I want you to pay attention to the curse and what's happening here too. So now when we look at this, Shem's his descendants go and they pretty much settle in the Asia area. And you have the Israelites, you have the Assyrians, the Chaldeans, the Armenians, the Ammonites, the Edomites, and some more. I'm not listing them all. Then you have Japheth. And Japheth basically goes and settles like in the European area. And there you're going to have the Persians, the Romans, the Scythians, the Macedonians, the Turks, the Slavs.
That's 5 hours of study right there a day.
Then you have Ham. So when he breaks down the blessings, he blesses Shem, and out of Shem is going to come Jesus Christ through his lineage. They're going to be a blessed people. He tells Japheth that he will be enlarged and he would dwell in the tents of Shem. So Shem and Japheth are going to be able to have a relationship. Shem is the chosen one where the Messiah is going to come out, and that lineage is just going to be blessed. So our Jewish people, I'm telling you, anytime you look at a map and you see this small little country signed by all these big countries, and no matter how many wars, God's had his hand on them. Okay. Then we see Ham. Ham is cursed, and he's told that he's going to be a servile race. He's going to be a servant of servants to his brothers. And Ham is basically settling in Africa, the Egyptians, the Philistines, the Canaanites, the Babylonians, the Phoenicians, the Cush. So now some people go and I'm just going to shut this down. And they want to go and do the lineage, and they want to talk about the Black Jews and all this other stuff. This is the lineage right here. So we see that out of Noah comes our whole population, and Ham settles in the African area, which is going to be the darker complexion people for the most part. You have Shem over in Asia, and you have Japheth in Europe. Now, the sons of Noah disobeyed God by not going forth and populating the whole earth as he told them. Instead, they all decide to go to the plains of Shinar. They go and hang out in the plains of Shinar. Once again, we're going to have judgment because people don't want to listen to God. So I'm going to say this in closing too. I think this is also a lesson we're learning as a church. What does God tell us to do as a church? That we should be ambassadors, that we should go into the highways and hedges, that we should go into the uttermost part of the earth, that we should spread the gospel. And he's pushing us out with COVID. He pushed us out. Get out that church, start talking to people, start getting away, because we get comfortable just having church, so to speak, or we get comfortable. They got all those blessings, except for Ham. They got all those blessings, and they like, man, let's just chill now. We're good. They don't want to go out and do what God said. All right. We love you. We thank you. Glad you're part of our Bible study today. We hope you had some fun with us. We had some fun, sure enough. Okay, maybe not.
Thank you very much.
I thought that kiss was powerful, but maybe it wasn't. All right, God bless you. We love you. Make it a great one. Be encouraged out there. Be ready. Are you ready for when Jesus comes back? Hey, that's what's important. Some of you guys are praying maybe about the wrong thing. You want the next promotion. You want a new car. You want a new house. But hey, your soul is far more important. Yes. So God bless you all. Oh, see, Shantanae just got on. God bless you. God bless you all. That's my cousin.
I know who that is.
No, I'm telling everybody.
Praise him. Praise him, praise him. Praise him, praise him.